Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Courageous Leadership with Virginia Prodan. We are so grateful you are here. We love to receive your comments and suggestions. We want to make sure that you are trained to live a life of success, courage, and significance. And we are so delighted. I am your host, Virginia Prodan. I am an international human rights attorney, a speaker and author of the book Saving My Assassin. You can find it at virginiaprodanbooks.com. And we love not only to teach you to live a life of significance and success, but also to invite courageous and successful leaders that we can learn from them how to live a life of success and significance in God's power. And one of our courageous leader is our guest, Michael Peck. He is the producer and director of The Last 60 Meters and the president of Manifold Productions, Inc., an independent film and television production company that was founded in 1977. Through this production, Mr. Peck has written, directed, and produced numerous award-winning national broadcast documentary, as well as corporated and educational films. He is also the president of Palladium Pictures. His most recent film, Created Equal, Clarence Thomas, in his words, is a 2 hours documentary. And the the Washington Post call it a marvelous of filmmaking, and the Washington Examiner said it was magnificent and necessary. Also, his upcoming The Last 60 Meters tell the story of the 2004 battles in Iraq, and it's a 90 minutes documentary looking back of Iraq war and celebrate the men and women fighting for our freedom. Welcome to our podcast, Michael.
Thank you for having me on, Virginia. Good to talk to you.
I just mentioned few things in your bio. You have so much more. You were the first Senate confirmed CEO of the United States Agency for Global Media.
Yes.
Voice of America, Office of Cuba Broadcasting, Radio Free Asia, Middle East Broadcasting Network, and Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. You have such an exposure on this. And, you know, when I was in Romania, in communist Romania, Voice of America and Free Europe radio were instrumental in letting us know what was happening behind the Berlin Wall, because we were surrendered by socialist government and communist government who didn't want us to know anything about free land. So I'm very, very aware of your work and what you have done. Can you tell people how important was your work for United States Agency for Global Media?
Well, I agree with you, Virginia, that in the Cold War, the Voice of America, Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty were heroic in bringing the news and to parts of the world that were not allowed to get the news, you know, behind the Iron Curtain, as you just said. And that is really important, to get the truth out to people who are starved for the truth. And I think it was heroic during the Cold War. And Václav Havel and Lech Walesa and many other heroes of the end of the Cold War have cited it. But now the challenge is what to do in the new world. So all these parts of the world that once were starved for news and information are now full of lots of information, some of it misleading, false, propagandistic, some of it true. What should be the United States' role? And I was the first Senate confirmed head of the U.S. Agency of Global Media, as you say, at the end of the first Trump administration. And I think now the challenge is what to do in this new world. And I think it's more important than ever to counter Chinese and Russian and Iranian propaganda. And exactly how to do it is a challenge. Now, I'm happy the challenge is no longer one I have to deal with. It's handed to other people in the current Trump administration, but it's a challenge. I think a lot of those Cold War institutions, like the Voice of America, are not set up for the new world, and they need to rethink public diplomacy in general, and international broadcasting in particular. And I hope that is going on.
Yeah, I hope so too. Um, you have been so instrumental in presented and created movies that or documentaries that are so important for maintaining uh, the real story of United States of America. Tell us a little bit about your recent film, Created Equal. Clarence Thomas in his own words, because I believe it's so important. After all, he died here in Texas. He came to visit, and he died here in Texas, and it's
Not
so
Clarence Thomas. He's still very much alive. I mean, you're thinking of another Supreme Court justice, not Clarence Thomas. So Clarence Thomas, I think he is a hero. You talked about heroes and courage, and I think and faith, and Clarence Thomas displays all those qualities. Um, he was born. He was a black man born in the segregated South in the late 40s. He was first born and raised in Pinpoint, Georgia, a Gullah-speaking area outside of Georgia, and he into dire poverty. And his father left before he could remember. His mother moved to Savannah. In Savannah, he had to deal with urban squalor. He had not enough to eat. He was hungry, and the town was segregated. He didn't really go to school. He'd wander the streets. And his mother brought him to her father, his grandfather, to raise, and his grandfather gave him tough love, traditional values, brought him to Catholicism. He was sent him to parochial school, and the nuns gave him discipline and hard work. And Clarence Thomas thrived in that environment. His grandfather was poor too, of course. And then in the 60s, he rebelled against that. He became an advocate for Black power and radical approaches, and turned on the values of his father, grandfather, and even his brother. And it took him a while to come back to both his faith and his grandfather's values, and we depict this in the film, and then go on to work in the Reagan administration, be nominated to the Supreme Court, have a very controversial, contentious confirmation battle where there was accusations from Anita Hill of sexual harassment, which he denied most famously in a speech where he called it a high-tech lynching. And he has gone on for many years to be a defender of the Constitution and originalism on the Supreme Court. So he is a hero, and he has an interesting, complex story. We let him tell it in his own words, as the title implies, Created Equal, Clarence Thomas in his own words, by looking directly at camera, giving his version of his life all the way through. And, there are archival footage and other things, but you hear only him, his view, and his wife. And he's a great storyteller, and he has fascinating views. And whether you agree with him or not, it's very much worth hearing his views and his take. And that film is available on Amazon and elsewhere. You can just Google Created Equal, Clarence Thomas in his own words, or go to our website, manifoldproductions.com, where we indicate where it can be found, as well as there are other films, also many about great Americans, George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, Admiral Rickover, who built the first nuclear navy. Or you can go to our new site, Palladium Pictures, which has our newer films, as well as an incubator. If you're out there and you are somebody, or you know somebody who wants to make a short film, we also fund short films by young up-and-coming filmmakers. We fund them, and then we oversee them. and that's open now for anyone who wants to apply to our incubator at palladiumpictures.com. So Clarence Thomas is a hero and a fascinating man and one of the most important leaders in America. People should understand him. And our most recent film, The Last 600 Meters, is a little different. It's about.
Now, let me
Okay.
interrupt you here, because you said several things about the Clarence Thomas in his own words. I believe, I interview several times Dr. Ben Carson, and I'm sure if I would interview Clarence Thomas, Judge Clarence Thomas, he will say exactly what Dr. Ben Carson will say. If I will be a child right now and my mother will treat the way she treated me, that I became when I am today, I will be in a welfare system. Because the government will say it's child abuse and everything, and we live in a different society. And those, Clarence Thomas, Dr. Ben Carson, benefited from Christian values, from working hard to accomplish. You are not the color of your skin. You are who God created you to be. Work hard and you will accomplish. And he has done amazing things. And I believe he, as Dr. Ben Carson, an example of what working hard and what America offers. Because even today, with entitlement attitude and everything that you see in America, America is still the best country in the world.
I think that is very true, and it's still a land of great opportunity, and we have to make sure that the opportunities that Ben Carson and Clarence Thomas had to have this kind of education that Clarence Thomas got from these nuns that he is always appreciative, and from his father, other people have, and not the very distorted messages, as you say, that they sometimes get from the culture or even from the government. So I agree with you completely.
I would think that at least public schools, and I will recommend myself, I will go and recommend to the public schools your documentary, Created Equal, Clarence Thomas in his own words, because I believe young people need to see this movie, need to understand that no matter where you are, you have parents, maybe your grandparents, raise you, or you have a mother who doesn't know how to read, but she will hide from you like the Ben Carson mother. You have the opportunity to build your life and do what God created you to do. So, what do you think, and how do you think the private schools will take your movie Created Evil?
Well, we've had it shown in some schools, and it gets a very good reception. I mean, because Clarence Thomas, first of all, his father left before he could remember. His mother dumped him with his grandfather, so he essentially was not raised by his parents, but by his grandparents. And he began in dire poverty, a kind of poverty that we don't really have in America anymore. That his mother's house had like an outhouse outside, and it was shared by many families. It would sort of back up, the area around it was so full of sewage they had to put a plank on it. I mean, he was actually hungry, and he grew up amidst segregation. Not to forget that he was a black man in the segregated South. And as you say, his grandfather who raised him was more or less illiterate. He had memorized a few passages from the Bible. And in spite of that, Clarence Thomas is now a Supreme Court justice. It's an inspiring story for young people who maybe don't have perfect families and come from poverty and feel that they're dealing with racial prejudice, but their poverty is nothing like Clarence Thomas, and the racial prejudice is nothing like the actual legal segregation in the South. And I think it's been an inspiring story, and not just for young black men especially, but not only. I mean, it's a story that you can come up in America. Clarence Thomas's favorite charity is the Horatio Alger Association, that celebrates many people who who've come back from poverty, like a Horatio Alger story, that come from poverty and make something of their lives. And I don't want to minimize the difficulties and for people and the struggles, and that it's not always easy, but it can be done. And America, as you say, is a land of hope and opportunity today too.
I can testify to that. When I came to America, I came empty handed. I didn't know one word in English because the government, I knew 5 languages, but not English, because the communist government considered learning English, learning the language of our enemies. And
Mm,
I didn't have any friends, but with God's help, I went back to law school for the second
wow.
time at law school in Dallas, Texas. I opened my law firm. I raised 3 kids as a single mom. My first daughter graduated from SMU like me. My second daughter from Harvard Law School, and my son
Mm,
from United States Air Force Academy. And this
mm,
is America. You can rebuild your life. You can do amazing things. But also, America is a land where we have to be grateful to our veterans. And what a great opportunity on Veterans Day to talk with you about your beautiful, wonderful new movie, new
mm.
documentary, 60 Minutes, a 90 minutes documentary looking back to the Iraq War. Tell us more about this and how people can see the movie.
Well, thank you. It's called The Last 600 Meters, the battles of Najaf and Fallujah, which were the biggest battles of the Iraq War, took place in 2004, the biggest battles America has fought since Vietnam. It's called The Last 600 Meters because a Special Forces sniper says in the film, I don't make foreign policy, I deliver the last 600 meters of it, meaning what he could see through a sniper scope. And that's what the film attempts to do, depict what the battles are like, the last 600 meters, the ground truth, what it's like to the people fighting. Not whether these wars are right or wrong or what politicians think, but what it's like for the troops on the ground, from corporals and sergeants up to the one-star generals that are in the field directing the battle. So we aim to tell the story without politics, as battle stories, as if they were Gettysburg or Iwo Jima or any other significant battle. And I believe, especially here on Veterans Day, that that's what our veterans want. They want to be remembered by what they did in battle, their courage and their valor. And we try to tell those stories, but without sugarcoating them and without diminishing the horrors of war or the impact on civilians or any other horrible things. It's not, there's a viewer discretion advised on this film, and maybe rightly so. And it premiered yesterday on PBS at 10 p.m. and some local stations are replaying it this week. But the easiest way to watch it is to go to Amazon and stream it. And it will be streaming on other platforms as well. But right now it's on Amazon. And I think it's a perfect thing to see on Veterans Day, especially with your family, whether you're a veteran or not.
What do you think? What kind of influence do you think it will have on the younger generation?
I think that I think that these people in the film are inspiring. I think it will be encouraging to people who to serve the country. I mean, you mentioned that you had a son in the Air Force Academy and in the
Yeah,
military, and
yeah. He
I
is a
think
rescue pilot in United States Air Force, and I have a son-in-law that is a Marine officer. Yes.
ah well, these were mainly Marine battles, Najaf and Fallujah, not exclusively, but mainly. We have one Air Force person in the film, a Air Force Special Forces radio operator, a woman, a black woman, Basher. I only have her code name. Um, but they're mainly Marine battles, and I think it's inspiring about for those to see those young men. And we conducted these interviews in 2007, 3 years after the battle. So the people in the film are still about the same age they were in the battle. We made the film by collecting what we thought was the most dramatic footage and revealing footage of these battles, and then look for the people in the footage. So the people look right at camera, tell their story, as does Clarence Thomas. This is a different story. Look at right at camera without comment from me or narrator, and they are talking about their footage that they're in. So you have a sense of being in the battle, and you get a feeling for what these young men and women went through.
That it's wonderful. One of the things that we do at our podcast, we teach and train our viewers to live a life of courage and significance and success. Obviously, you found your courage, significance, and success in life. Can you tell our audience, outline for them how you started and how your love for the movie flourished in your life?
Well, I grew up in New York City, and I always loved movies. But after college, I came back to New York, and I had a lot of friends who I took some courses in film at NYU, and I had a lot of friends in the film business. And at the time, I'm pretty conservative, and they were way on the left, and they were making, my friends were, films I didn't agree with, pro-nuclear freeze, in light of your experience, sympathetic to the Soviet Union, sympathetic to the North Vietnamese, and not, skeptical of America, its values, its place in the world. And I thought I should make the counter films. And a partner and I started our company, Manifold Productions, then. And it has been an interesting journey. I've been privileged to tell the story of many important people, like Clarence Thomas, like the people in the last 600 meters. And I think I've been able to get some of my sense of the world out there to people. And it's been a satisfying thing. I work with my wife, who is my business partner, which is, works out well for us. My middle son, I have 3 sons, works with me. So it's been a great thing for my family as well as for me. And I have been able to get some of what I value in the world, what I think is important, out to a broad audience. And that has been a satisfying thing.
It's so visible that this is your mission. You have a peace that surpasses all understanding when you talk about a joy. It's a joy of the Lord, knowing that you are doing what you're created to do. And this is essential elements when you find your purpose in life. And your purpose in life is bigger than your dreams. I'm sure that you never had a dream that your purpose will be what actually is right now. And I'm sure that the good Lord was having your family, your wife, and your son in business with you. It's not done with your mission in life.
It's true. The path is always, never a straight line. And, as you say, coming from Romania, yours isn't too. But yeah, I mean, I'm Jewish. My family's Jewish, and I hope I'm doing what God intended me to do. You never really know. I mean, you have to try. But I feel that I am fulfilling an important purpose, and that does make me happy. It's always important. One always feels that one should do more. One is really not doing enough, but we do try.
We know that in Isaiah, God says that He will put His hands on our back and He will say, "This is the way, walk in it." So somehow He
Yes.
is communicated with us. We are never in unknown territory. Sometimes we are when we want to rush before the Lord and we want to do ours. But it's so wonderful to see that the mission that you are on with your family gives you peace and joy, and you are encouraging us. I'm just so delighted to have you, Mike, in on our podcast, and you encourage our audience in so many ways.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you and um, answering your questions, and especially here on Veterans Day, a very appropriate time to talk about these things. Thank you again.
Would you say one more time when the people can see the movies or find you?
They can see our older films at manifoldproductions.com, the newer ones at palladiumpictures.com. And The Last 600 Meters is available on Amazon, as is Created Equal, Clarence Thomas in his own words. And my X account is Michael Pack _, but there's really way more information on the websites.
Thank you so very much, Michael. We appreciate that. And thank you, everyone. We hope you will watch this podcast. You will share it with others, and you will go to Mike's websites and different sites that he shared with you, that you will watch those important movies and share with others at school and in your community. Until next time, I hope you go to virginiaprodanbooks.com/contact and send us your comments, or if you need any help, we are here to help you to live courageously and to live a life of success and significance in God's power and to fulfill the mission that He created you for. Until next time, God bless you. Bye-bye.